just want you and nothing else, nothing else, nothing else will do. I just want you and nothing else, nothing else, nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else, nothing else will do. Caught up in your presence, I just wanna sit here at your feet. This holy moment, never want to leave. Oh, I'm not here for blessings. Jesus, you don't owe me anything more than anything that you can do. I just want you.
Hey, good morning, Faith Assembly. So glad that you are watching our Sunday morning online service. And let us know that you're here. Put a comment below. We would love to hear from you. This morning, we start a brand new series called Open House. And we're going to be looking at the theme of hospitality and that attribute that God has. And I feel like as I've gone through the scriptures, it's been challenging for me. I've learned a lot. And I think that here in the next 4 weeks, God is going to speak to us and stretch us. You know, hospitality starts with God. We see this in the creation account as we observe God create the heavens and the earth, the water, the land, everything. We see that God is doing everything in a very purposeful way. And this shows His care and shows that He Himself is our home. He is our dwelling place. And, you know, when we think of hospitality, we think of, you know, maybe inviting people over to our home. But actually the root of this word in the Latin form really suggests the meaning of host or guest or even stranger, bringing a stranger in, because the biblical form of hospitality is always oriented around the stranger, the alien, rather than lavishly pouring out blessings upon those that you know. And so I think as we look at the scriptures today, we're going to be challenged and we're going to be stretched this morning. So if you have your Bibles this morning, let's turn to the book of Genesis chapter 1. And we're going to start reading with verse 3 and go down to verse 8. And then we're going to read a second passage just a little further down, starting with verse 26 and going to verse 28. It says, "Then God said, 'Let there be light,' and there was light. And God saw that the light was good. And then He separated the light from the darkness. And God called the light day and the darkness night. And evening passed and morning came, marking the first day. Then God said, 'Let there be a space between the waters to separate the waters from the heavens and the waters from the earth.' And that is what happened. And God made this space to separate the waters of the earth and the waters of the heavens. And God called the space sky. And evening passed and morning came, marking the second day." We go down to verse 26. It says, "Then God said, 'Let us make man in our image to be like us. And they will reign over the fish of the sea and the birds of the sky, the livestock and all the wild animals on the earth, and the small animals that scurry around the ground.' So God created human beings in His own image. In the image of God He created them, male and female He created them. Then God blessed them, and He said, 'Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and govern it, reign over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and all the animals that scurry along the ground.'" So my first thing this morning, as we look at God and the attributes of hospitality, first thing is that God prepares with us in mind. You know, we look at the creation account, and as he was doing, creating the heavens and the earth and separating the sky from the ground and doing all the things during the first day, the second day, the third day. You know, God was preparing this place. He was preparing creation. He was preparing the earth, and he had you and me in mind. He had the whole population of this planet, past, present, and future, as he was creating the heavens and the earth. You know, he thought of everything, and he made everything have a purpose. He was very purposeful in what he was doing and in the order that he was doing it. You know, one of my favorite memories, and as we talk about hospitality, I was thinking about being invited over to people's houses, and I'm just gonna talk a little bit about the Gonzalez family. As we went over to their house, they know that we are coffee drinkers and that we love coffee, and had this array of different coffees that we could choose from to drink from that evening. And after we had coffee and we were done for the day, they sent us home with all that coffee too. And so they were very purposeful in knowing the things that we like, and they sent us home with those things. And I feel that God, in the same way, as he was preparing the heavens and the earth, as he was preparing this ground, bringing animals and plants and insects and making sure that everything had a purpose, God knew that everything was being purposely planned for you and for me. You know, we look at all the plants and animals, and yes, even the bugs and insects and cockroaches. They all have a plan and a purpose, and that all trickles down to where we're able to be sustained and provided for. You know, God has you in mind, and I want to explain to you this morning that his hospitality and his blessings towards us always has us in mind. He is a provider, he is a sustainer, and that he is providing for you even today. He's being hospitable to you today. You may be far off from him this morning, but God is preparing a place for you. He's preparing a blessing for you, and he does it all with you in mind. Number 2 this morning is that God does not hold back his blessings as he prepares. When God was in the process of creation, there was an overflow of goodness. You know, day after day as he created, you know, it was, he said that this was a good day, that this was a blessing, and he marked that day as being good. Second day, third day, all the way down to the 6th day, and on that day he said that creation as a whole, once it was complete, that it was very good. And I love that he calls each day good, even though creation was not fully complete, even though he had not finished his work. He looked at that and he didn't say, oh, it's kind of good, I'll do better the following day, or I'll do better with my next creation. No, he said this was good. And that's an earmark of his blessings, of his full authority, of his power being displayed. And he says this is a good and perfect thing. He does not hold back from his blessings. You know, John Calvin writes, he says, because he furnished the world with all things needful, even with an immense profusion of wealth, before he formed man. Thus man was rich before he was born. But if God had such care for us before we existed, he will by no means leave us destitute for food or other necessities of life now that we are placed in this world. What an amazing statement that we were rich, that we were blessed before we even entered this world, that he made immense provisions and he made this beautiful place so that you and I could be provided for. God does not withhold his blessings. He does not hold back when he blesses and prepares for us. And I think in same terms of being hospitable, you know, not only have we been blessed, but we are in turn supposed to return those blessings in the same manner. God does not withhold blessings, and so we too should not withhold blessings as we have the opportunity to bless someone else. Creation is a gift and a blessing specifically for us, and we are to enjoy that blessing there. The last thing this morning is that God is our home. You know, I'm sure many of you have heard the saying, mi casa, su casa, right? My home is your home. And I think the real the real deal of that, my house is your house, is when you invite someone over and you call them a fridge friend, right? And they can go to your fridge and they can get whatever they want without asking, your provisions. Everything in your home belongs also to that person. And that, in essence, is hospitality, that someone can come in and they feel comfortable. They know that this place is theirs. And I think in the same way, when God created the heavens and the earth, right? He created plants, animals, trees. There were no structures. God did not make homes or dwelling places because he expected creation. He expected humankind to dwell with him. And I feel like that's an important thing for us to know, especially now. When we think of hospitality, we do think of inviting people over to our home. But we can be hospitable without even having a home. And God showed that to the people of Israel when he called them unto himself. The people of Israel did not have land or anything, but God called them a nation and called them a nation unto himself. And he lavishly took care of them as they were wandering in the desert. He lavishly took care of them. Even before that, when they were in Egypt and they were enslaved, God took care of his people, and he was showing hospitality toward them so that they too could do that in the same manner whenever they moved into their own land. He specifically asked them that whenever there were strangers that came in, or where there were aliens that came in, or foreigners that came in, he said, hey, treat them in a very hospitable way. Bless them. Let them come in and glean from your harvest on the outskirts. Make sure that they're provided for. Invite them into your home. Bless them. We see a great example of that in the book of Ruth, where Ruth was able to glean from those harvest fields, even though that she was a Moabite. God took care of the foreigners. God took care of the aliens. And so in the same way, when God is our home, we're able to bless people. We're able to bring them in and say, you know what, this home, this blessing that I have is yours, but also everything else that God has given me also belongs to you. In Baker's Evangelical Dictionary of Biblical Theology, the author writes on hospitality, and he says, one finds God's attributes of hospitality in the biblical proclamation of the relationship between God and his covenant people, and how he took care of them and how he showed them to become hospitable people. Hospitality, like I mentioned at the beginning, in the ancient world focused on the alien or the stranger in need. As an alien person, the traveler often did not have immediate food or lodging. Widows, orphans, the poor, sojourners from other lands, they lacked the family connections. They lacked the community status that was provided for one that had family or land or inheritance. And so this morning, I want you to know that God invited you into his home. He saw that you were far off, that you were an alien, and he did it to me. And he said, come, be a part of what I have, be a part of my community. And so God expects in the same way for us to be hospitable and generous, not just with the things that he's given us in a physical sense, but also from a spiritual sense, for us to have that hospitality and blessings toward other people who may not be part of the family just yet. Many of you guys may be real familiar with the HGTV show Fixer Upper, and where Chip and Joanna Gaines, they'll come into a home and they'll fix it up for a young family. And there was an episode several years ago where this young family was interviewed as their house was being renovated. They said, hospitality is big for us. We want to be a refuge, a place to get away from the craziness of life. We want people to experience warmth and love in our house. We want to host people from all over the world here. We've hosted 2 professional tennis players from South Africa, and we want to host missionaries. We both have big families, and we want to be able to host them here. Now, let me say this. Being hospitable doesn't start with you having a big house or you having provision to bring people over. Hospitality starts in our hearts. Hospitality starts when God begins to show himself to us. Hospitality is contagious, and what I hope that in this series, that as we understand this more and we draw closer to the Lord, that his very nature rubs off on us, and that we become more hospitable people, and that we become hospitable in an unmeasured way like he's done for us. So my challenge to you this week is to think about God as the first host. I encourage you to open yourself up to the Lord. Begin by thanking Him for His blessings. Begin to thank Him for His provision. And begin to thank Him for inviting you into His presence when you were far off. Begin to thank Him for those things. And then begin to make a list. Make a list of 5 to 6 things that, 5 to 6 ways that you can be hospitable this week. And I know it may be difficult, it may be challenging, but think of ways that you can bless people. Maybe as we start this online service next week, maybe being a little more engaging, right, in the chat comments and welcoming each other as we have this service. You know, it could be too that as you pick up your cup of coffee in the morning, maybe bless a person in the drive-through line behind you, and you can be hospitable in that way. Or, you know, maybe send a phone call over to the church office and, you know, ask if there's anyone who is hurting or there's anything going on, and then that way you can send a card or even pick up the phone. Those are great places to start. And so this morning I want to encourage you to let God help you be creative and let God show you different ways for you to show hospitality this week. Hey, let me bless you guys. May the Lord bless you and protect you. May the Lord smile on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord show you His favor and give you His peace. God bless you. Bye-bye.